guys, and welcome to Odds on Premier League Matchday 10. As always, we have here our great, lovely, amazing, astonishing Tom Rennie. Hello, Tom. How are you?
I thought you were talking about someone else there. That was very kind of you. What did I do to deserve such praise on this show? What did I do?
It's just the confidence being among, in a private. Makes me.
Yes, it's nice. It feels like we're secretly in a room together, and I like that.
Exactly. Well, let's not lose any time to analyze these 10 games. Remember, guys, to comment the video with us telling us your tips for this Premier League. And of course, press the like and subscribe because we have great games. Of course, we will talk about Arsenal, Liverpool. But before, on Saturday, we have Bournemouth, Leicester City. And this is an interesting game because Leicester finally won a football game. It was 4-0 against rivals Derby. Nottingham Forest, so perhaps now the hype is better for Leicester to beat Bournemouth. It looks like a 6-pointer if Leicester is going to fight for relegation this season, Tom.
Yeah, I mean, Leicester aren't going to fight for relegation. I mean, they just aren't going to be down there come the final 10 games. And as I always say to our viewers, don't take the league table seriously until we get to week 10, maybe even week 12, maybe even the World Cup. The way this season is going to go. The first half of the season, you'll learn some things, but you don't necessarily learn the bottom half of the table structure. With Bournemouth, since they sacked Scott Parker and brought in Gary O'Neill as caretaker manager, they've picked up 1 win and drawn 3 games and look very difficult to beat. The game against Brentford, which I thought was going to be a thriller last week, that was my worst tip of last weekend. It was drudgery. It was a really rough game of football. I thought it'd be attacking because of the way Brentford play, Bournemouth being at home. And maybe I still think of Bournemouth as the old Eddie Howe team that used to try and win games from the outset. This team is not that team. They will shut the game down. They will stop the opponent. And maybe that's part of Gary O'Neill being a caretaker manager for so long that he's picking up impressive points. He hasn't got to impress anybody to get the job. He's not going to get the job. It seems like he doesn't even want the job. And so what he's doing is he's getting really clever and commendable points, not trying to entertain anybody. So I expect that again from Bournemouth for this game. If they are to win it, they've got to find a way to get the best out of Championship striker Dominic Solanke. Signed a new contract for the Cherries before the season began. Came into the season injured. He's now getting some starts, getting some minutes, scored a couple of goals. But how do they unleash the striker if they're going to keep 8 or 9 players behind the ball? That is the question for Bournemouth. For Leicester, they almost have the opposite challenge. Offensively, superb, just superb. They've scored 14 goals this season, the most in the bottom half, an equivalent number to Brighton and just a few behind Tottenham. They've scored more than Manchester United. You know, they score a lot of goals. James Maddison has been one of the best players in the Premier League so far this season. We spoke about that last week. We tipped him to star against Brentford, and he did. So it's defence where the issues are. Wout Face at centre-half looks okay. A little bit shaky, a little bit raw, but every time they put a new defender next to Johnny Evans, he seems to be good for a couple of weeks, then get worse. You know, think about Chalio Soyuncu and now this guy. So they look better. The win on Monday against Nottingham Forest would have given them a lot of confidence, and I think they score in this game. I think at 2-1 just to win, that's already quite nice here for Leicester City. I do think Bournemouth are going to score because Leicester's back line is poor. Bournemouth are pretty good at getting bodies forward for corners. If they have Kiefer Moore on the pitch at any time, a 6'5" brute of a striker, they're going to score from a corner against a Leicester team who still can't defend those sorts of set plays. But I'd fancy Leicester to score a couple of goals. I don't see a great deal of Premier League quality in this Bournemouth defence. And at some point, they are going to have to start risking things to go forward. So I would suggest that Bournemouth will score 1, Leicester will score 2, Leicester win and go over 2.5 goals in the game.
Okay, we have both teams to score 1.7, away victory 2.2, 2.1 if you go for Leicester. Next game, Chelsea, Wolves. This time we don't have a manager for Wolves. Bruno Lage was sacked after losing 2-0 with West Ham, and to be honest, we don't like Wolves under Bruno Lage, so it was time for an end in this relationship. And the last minute news is Lopetegui. I cannot believe it, changing Seville for Wolves in just one day. So perhaps the former Sevilla manager, just sacked on Wednesday, can arrive to Wolves to face this Chelsea that is getting better and better under Graham Potter. I'm not saying that after the victory against Crystal Palace, what a goal, by the way, scored by Gallagher, but because of the victory in the Champions League, Tom.
Yeah, look, I think Graham Potter's going to need until the World Cup. I think he gets a free pass until the World Cup. I think Chelsea get out of their Champions League group, whatever happens, because the squad is so strong. So no great stress there. The Palace game was as tight as we thought it was going to be last week. A couple more goals than we expected because Palace scored first, and that put the cat amongst the pigeons, and Chelsea had to come back and win it 2-1. That Gallagher goal was fantastic, as you say. The interesting thing about Chelsea is Aubameyang. That's really, really interesting. We didn't know whether he was going to hit the ground running after Thomas Tuchel left the club. Graham Potter has never really played with a striker. You know, he's always played with guys who do more build-up play than are out-and-out strikers. Aubameyang is not a build-up play guy. He's a finisher. He's a bash-it-home when he gets the chance guy. And he scored a great goal against Palace, scored in midweek in the Champions League as well. So it looks like they are going to find and have found a way to play with him. I still have doubts about Chelsea defensively. Thiago Silva with a howler last week, which on another day would have seen him sent off. I'm not sure you can keep playing Thiago Silva week in, week out. Who goes alongside him? It's still a revolving question. The formation for Chelsea remains a revolving question, but they do seem like a bunch that want to play for this manager, want to impress this new manager, and that gives Chelsea a lot of positivity. They're going up against the Wolverhampton Wanderers team, who, as you mentioned, they let Bruno Lage go. Should have happened in the summer. You know, I had a lot of stick from Wolves fans during the summer for saying Bruno Lage had to go. He was insanely negative. And what happened to me was Wolves fans and Portuguese journalists started atting me on social media saying, you got to give him a chance. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't know anything about Wolverhampton. Look at his Benfica team. They beat Huesca 10-0 once. They scored 100 goals in a season. Well, he had the best squad, or one of the three best squads in Portugal. They were always going to come at least top three. And it was great. They won the league. Superb. Congratulations. It's not the same as being the manager of Wolverhampton Wanderers. He's had bad luck with strikers, sure. But last season, he had Raul Jimenez for most of the season, and he couldn't score a goal. Amazing at coaching a six-a-side team. Pass, 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 pass. But you need a bit more cut and thrust if you're going to be in a Premier League team. A professional 11-a-side football team. Lage never had it, and it's about time he went. He should have gone in the summer, and they could have rebuilt properly. And they've still got the same problems. So offensively, there's still no striker. Kalidzic out, Jimenez, who knows, and Diego Costa looked all right last week, I thought, when he came on against West Ham, but he's only going to be able to do half an hour. So that means you've got to play without a striker for an hour, and then you bring on Costa and hope for the best. And of course, Costa going back to Chelsea is another interesting element of this particular game. I just don't see anything beyond a Chelsea win. I think Chelsea are going to win quite comfortably, actually. I would expect Chelsea to score early in the first 15 minutes. I'd expect Chelsea to score goals in both halves. I have no faith in a Wolverhampton Wanderers goal, though if you just feel like putting Costa to score any time for fun, feel free to do so. That's worth a fiver of fun money if you've got £5 of fun money to spend. But Chelsea win, they score in both halves, they don't concede a goal. I'd go over 2.5 as well.
Okay, Chelsea to win 2-0, for instance, is 2.2. I am also surprised how Wolves, yesterday, they were thinking on Eusebio Di Francesco, former Roma manager, and he plays in a certain way, and now they are thinking on Julen Lopetegui, probably more similar to Bruno Lage, but let's see which manager they pick to replace the Portuguese manager. Then next game, Man City, Southampton. Good luck, Tom, finding good odds for this game. With Southampton, by the way, getting closer to the danger. Last 3 games were defeats. 4 out of the last 5 were defeats. The last one, a painful one against Everton, because they should fight toe-to-toe with Everton in the season. Whereas for City, what to say apart from, of course, Erling Haaland? I saw that there is a petition in England for forbidding him to play in the Premier League because he's a robot or a cyborg, not a person anymore.
Yes.
Perhaps, Tom, they are right, actually.
I think we should maybe all invest in some sort of genetic testing just to be sure. Like maybe when he comes out of the tunnel, we should run him through a metal detector just to be absolutely sure that he is human. Look, briefly on Man City, as you say, there isn't going to be a great deal of good odds here. The interesting thing is that I would bet on Haaland hat-trick every week right now. And I think we suggested it last week for fun, and he scored a hat-trick again. And it was only about 11-1 for him to score a hat-trick. So I would expect him in this game to be maybe like 8-1 to score a hat-trick. Like it's going to be low for Erling Haaland to score a hat-trick, but I'd actually put it on every week right now. I don't expect this incredible hot form to last forever, but I do expect it to last for at least this month. And Southampton are tremendously pliant opponents. So look, City are going to win this game, right? City are going to win this game and they're going to score by at least over 2.5. I'd even be looking here at the over 3.5, over 4.5 market. I think City might win this 5, 6 or 7-0. I think they're going to completely wallop Southampton in this game. So go for over 5.5 and Haaland to score. Maybe over 5.5 and Haaland scores a hat-trick. If you want to make some money from this game, that's what you're going to have to do because City are significantly better than Southampton. You can also look at over 10 corners. I'd go over 35 shots in this game, being 30 for City and 5 for Southampton. I think it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath, this one. And good luck for Southampton, who are 23-1 at last check to win this game, which I actually think is quite low. On Southampton, there's been some talk this week that Ralph Hasenhüttl will be getting the sack. He's done really, really well there to keep this average squad at best above water. So he's done a tremendous job in that respect, but he hasn't taken them anywhere for a long time. And I can see why there is now a conversation about what is our future. The trouble is, nobody could do a better job with this squad than Ralph Hasenhüttl. So I'm always wary of saying, be careful what you wish for, because, you know, that's normally something that people from the outside say. And fans are like, when I pay my money and I have to watch this schlock every week. So I get that. But no one, I'll tell you now, Southampton fans, if you're watching, no one is going to do a better job with this squad than this manager. It is not a good squad of players, okay? It's a real good championship squad of players plus James Ward-Prowse. So I'd be surprised if that ended up being the case. But look, on this game, City win, go super, super big. And sorry, Southampton. Don't watch this one this week.
All right, Man City is in handicap -3, for instance, is 2.7, so they have to win by 4 goals. 4 goals difference for you to win your bet if you want to bet on this game, although the odds are not great. Next game is Newcastle-Brentford. Odds are not great also for Newcastle to win. I'm surprised actually to see only 1.8. We know that Newcastle is a good side and they are just coming from beating Fulham heavily 1-4, but only second victory of the season, and Brentford, Tom, is a tough team to beat. Last 5 games, they only lost to Arsenal. They are always very competitive.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, on Newcastle, I agree they've been good this season, but they've lacked a cutting instinct for a lot of games. It helps in a game like last week when the opposition's best player goes off injured and they get a player sent off after 8 minutes. Like everything just went Newcastle's way at Craven Cottage last week in a cavalcade of good news for them. So that was good news. And also excellent news for Newcastle is the return to fitness of Callum Wilson. Like, I think Alexander Isak, who's out injured again this weekend, is going to be good. I rate him highly, and I think he's a really good signing. But Callum Wilson is the finished article Premier League striker. His record at Newcastle is around about a goal every couple of games, about 2.2, 2.3, the average. Really, really good striker. Scores a lot of goals. Will get injured again at some point, but right now he's fit, makes a massive difference. It makes Miguel Almiron a better player. I think Jacob Murphy played last week in the front three because Saint-Maximin was out, but he makes him a better player. He's great at link play. He's great at scoring goals, has a brilliant attitude. And so I think he's a terrific striker. So I have a lot of faith in Newcastle when he's in the team. Plus another week where just 1 goal conceded, Sven Botman, Fabian Schär. It's a real good defensive partnership they've got going on at Newcastle. So things moving in the right direction, though a long way from the finished article. For Brentford, so difficult to assess. They're so difficult because they thrash Leeds, they wallop Man United, but then they barely created a chance of note against a struggling Bournemouth team last weekend. You know, I think what Bournemouth lack is if you are going to defend deep, low block against them, there's not a great deal of guile in this team. That's what Christian Eriksen brought them last year. In a midfield of people like Jensen, Vitaly Janelt, Baptiste, good runners, good workers, but are they creative? Is there an Eriksen? No need to look for other examples. Is that player there to slip someone like Tony and Bumo through? They get Tony dropping deep to do that. They lose their best striker by doing that. I don't think Damsgaard has done a great deal as yet in the Premier League. So I think this is an interesting game in so many ways, because I can see Brentford winning it because Newcastle are going to come out offensively. That leaves holes in behind for Brentford, which favours them. Newcastle at St James's Park get beaten very rarely these days, and they have Callum Wilson up front scoring goals. So I think the most common scoreline in football, 2-1 for this game. Both teams will score. Newcastle will win it, and look out for the Tony and Wilson market. I wouldn't be surprised if Newcastle win, both Tony and Wilson score.
Okay, both teams to score 1.79, and this is a good bet. I guess also be aware of the draw in this game. Newcastle, Brentford next game, the last one on Saturday. This is a Champions League clash right now, the third against the fourth. Brighton, Tottenham. Even with our new manager, we knew that the Serbi is a very good manager, and the first display was great at Anfield with Tosarte scoring a hat-trick. Whereas for Tottenham, they have to keep an eye also in the Champions League because they have a massive game against Eintracht Frankfurt in the following week. And also they played in the Champions League in Frankfurt and was kind of a coin toss. Everyone could have won that game.
Yeah, it was about as drab, though, as we knew it would be with the way Antonio Conte plays. He isn't going to change this. It's a way of playing that's won him leagues around the world, including the Premier League during his time at Chelsea. Be savage in attack is the way Antonio Conte plays. There's no great thought into what they do in terms of, breaking a team down over a period of time. It's how quick can I get this ball to the back of the net? I always think about stand-up comedy when I think about Tottenham Hotspur. It's how few words can I say before I get a laugh? That's basically what you do as a stand-up comic. I'm going to say 8 words, I get a laugh. Can I cut it to 7? I'll do it. To a laugh. And that's what they do. For Brighton, very impressive against Liverpool, as you say, but we don't know what this De Zerbi team is as yet. That was a Graham Potter performance with cutting edge. And Leandro Trossard, who I'm told his contract runs out the end of this year, you get the feeling he's playing for a move somewhere. I think he'll get one as well. I think he's a tremendous player, the Belgian international. So, look, with Brighton, I think that they will have the majority of possession. If you like to bet on possession stats, this game's going to be 75-25. It may even be 80-20 by the end, depending on if Tottenham are able to score in this game. But with that, I can see Tottenham being savage on the counter-attack. I think Brighton have 70% of the ball, but Tottenham score at least 2 goals in this game. Look at Tottenham win without conceding, and Tottenham score in the second half 75 minutes or later to go on to win this game by a couple of goals.
Wow, good odds for Tottenham to win this game, 2.62. And games on Sunday, Crystal Palace Leeds is the first one, and this is an interesting one also for the relegation battle because Crystal Palace, they have only 6 points, only 1 victory. They always play well, they always compete, but they are not getting the results. Same happened against Chelsea, so it's time for them. By the way, Tom, last 4 games, both for Crystal Palace and Leeds, no victories.
Yeah, I mean, Crystal Palace showed us again last week what they're all about, which is great organisation, which is good team spirit, which is take chances when they come. And they were very unlucky to lose against Chelsea. They're a good team, but they're lacking something. They're a good team, but I think they are overperforming the quality because of how good the coaching staff is and how good the organisation is from Patrick Vieira and Sean Derry and the team at Selhurst Park. So I expect a very similar performance here from Crystal Palace. It will be compact, it'll be competitive, it'll be counter-attacking, and it will be reliant on the creative genius of Wilfried Zaha. For Leeds United, they're so tricky. They are so tricky to assess at this moment in time because they haven't actually changed that much from the Bielsa days. There's not a great deal different. They've got a very intense manager in Jesse Marsch. I thought what he said last week was really interesting, that Sinisterra got sent off. Aston Villa, the away team, then started dominating the ball, creating chances. And the home team, Leeds, essentially tried to shut the game down and were playing very negative sort of anti-football. And then Jesse Marsch came out afterwards to say, Our fans don't come here to see a game played at a snail's pace, and everyone comes here to try and shut us down. It was a bit like, well, hold on, you did that. You're the team that did that in this game, and you did it understandably, and you should be commended for how well you did it because you had 10 men for so long. So that was really weird. I think Jesse Marsh, if we believe what he says, as opposed to it being performative, wants his side on the front foot at all times, go for the jugular at all times. And that's what led to their thrashing at Brentford. And that's what will lead to them losing here. I think Leeds will get on the front foot. That will leave gaps in behind. Crystal Palace have Wilfried Zaha, who will be the outstanding player on the field, as he is for the majority of the games that Crystal Palace play. And I can see here Leeds huffing and puffing and struggling to score. 60% possession, 10 corners, 15 shots, no goals. Palace, 30% possession, 3 shots, and they win by 2-0. I can already see this game playing out in my mind. So Palace win, and their goals come early in the first half, early in the second half.
All right, Palace to win, 2.2. Next game, West Ham, Fulham, London derby, although they are super far away. Both grounds, finally a victory, Tom, at home for West Ham, 2-0 against Wolves, and Scamacca scoring a beautiful goal, I have to say. I watched it. It was a great goal by the Italian striker, whereas for Fulham, you said before, very unlucky against Newcastle, nothing to say. Apart from if you go for both teams to score, for Fulham, it's always a good option. Tom, 7 out of 8 in this Premier League.
My concern for Fulham keeping up that record is how fit Alexander Mitrovic is. He wasn't fit when he came back from international duty. They tried to play him last week. He came off early. Is he going to be fit? If he's not fit, then Fulham are not going to score in this game. They're just not going to score without Mitrovic, who was such a star performer in those opening weeks of the season. West Ham have only conceded 9 goals as well, which is a below average amount of goals to have conceded at this moment in time. And they don't lose by many when they lose West Ham as well. So you've got to score at least 2 to beat West Ham more often than not. Before West Ham, last week against Wolves was a real drudgery of a game. A couple of great goals from Scamacca and Bowen you mentioned. But, when David Moyes first came in, he decided we're going to play survival football here. Risk-averse football. Don't risk anything. Keep in your position. Do your job properly. Take the chance when it comes. And he could do that against Wolves because they dominate the ball. Wolves just fell into West Ham's trap last week, and West Ham went on to win the game. I think West Ham are significantly better than their points tally suggests. They're significantly better than their wins tally suggests, and I think they'll fancy themselves to win this game. We don't know how many players, as we record this, played in Anderlecht on Thursday. I'd expect a very changed team with 2 wins already in the Conference League going into that game, so I'd expect maybe 7 or 8 changes for West Ham, maybe a defeat in that game too, because they can still win the group with the 3 games left. And I expect West Ham to be pretty similar to the team that played last week. Cornet out, Ben Rama in potentially, depending on how fit Cornet is. But apart from that, I think West Ham will have not a great deal of possession. They didn't get many corners last week as teams do whatever they can to stop West Ham getting a corner, but I think they will get at least 5 corners in this match. I don't see Fulham scoring a goal unless Mitrovic plays, but at the moment, I'm understanding that he's not going to be fit enough to play. So West Ham, similar to last week, 2 goals, 2-0, nice win, goals in both halves, but don't think this game is going to be entertaining at all. I think West Ham are going to try and bludgeon their way to points for a few weeks.
If you go for West Ham to win, 1.86, West Ham to win 2-0, in case you want to risk a little bit more. 3.2, of course, check the lineups on Oddspedia and see if Mitrovic is fit for this game. Next one, the most interesting one of this weekend, Arsenal-Liverpool. Arsenal, remember, they've won absolutely everything when they are playing at home, still top of the table, only 1 defeat against Man United. So this is a massive test for them after also winning the North London derby, especially because this Liverpool is not playing well in the Premier League, for sure not, and in the Champions League, they had not a great rival in Rangers, so I guess we cannot judge them.
Yeah, I think that's fair enough. I think that for Arsenal, I worked on that game last week and I've done a few Arsenal games this year, and the first team is terrific. Like, it is terrific. I think that Thomas Partey and Granit Xhaka bossed the North London derby last week. I think in Jesus, Martinelli and Saka, they have 3 of the most dynamic forwards in the league. Martin Ødegaard is the link between the 2. I'd maybe be considering getting Gabriel, the centre-half, out of the team, moving Ben White central and bringing Tomiyasu in at full-back. But apart from that, there's no even suggestion there'll be any changes going into this game. And they have been so good at the start of this season. You can understand why that's the case. I think Arsenal will score in this game. I think they score in the majority of home games. I think in Gabriel Jesus, they have someone who could really torment Virgil van Dijk and whomever he's partnered with in this game. So I'd quite fancy them on that score. And at the moment, would you back Liverpool to score at Arsenal against this defence? I don't know. I don't know you would. Salah's not been great. Firmino, he's had some good moments against the likes of Brighton, but in a game like this, I'm not sure he's going to be able to get into those penalty area positions. And Luis Diaz fades in, fades out. He's certainly not Sadio Mane as yet. And the midfield remains an issue too. So I think at 2.6 for Arsenal just to win, Liverpool just slight favourites here. I'm surprised at that. I think that might be worth going on its own. Just Arsenal win, double your money. I think that's a really good one. I think that Liverpool are more than capable of hitting Arsenal on the break, but are they capable of taking the chance when it comes, as we definitely would have backed them to do last year? I'm going Arsenal here. I don't think you need to be too fancy with the odds. I think Arsenal to win at 2.6, that'll go to about 3 by the time we get to the weekend, is very, very nice. And then we need to start looking at Arsenal to win the league odds, but wait till this weekend.
Arsenal to win the league is 9.0, by the way. If you fancy that, Arsenal to win this game, as you said, 2.6. If you go Arsenal Asian Handicap 0, for instance, so if there is a draw, you get your money back, around 2. But Tom is backing Arsenal to beat this Liverpool. And last game on Sunday, we have Everton Man United. Let's see how this Man United reacts after that heavy defeat against Man City. I expect, or I hope, or I guess, Casemiro at one point he should play in this team. He was bought with a lot of millions to play, at least, and not McTominay, but it's Ten Hag choice. And Everton, Tom, they are becoming a team that is very difficult to beat. Only 2 defeats with only 7 goals scored in this season. I guess they are doing the best with the few goals they are scoring in this season, middle of the table.
Yes, I think they will do exactly what they've done for the last 6 or 7 weeks, Everton, in this game, and get everybody behind the ball, be pretty risk-averse. They don't create many chances. They don't have the creative players to create many chances. And even the players that we thought were creative players like Alex Iwobi are now central defensive midfielders. So everyone does their defensive job, and they hope that maybe Anthony Gordon can do a bit of magic, or like against West Ham, Neil Maupay can have 2 shots and 1 goes in. So I think Everton will do a similar performance to that. Really impressed by Conor Cody and James Tarkowski, good central defensive pairing. And I think Everton will keep the score down here. They will not be thrashed. They won't be thrashed anytime soon. And Frank Lampard deserves a lot of credit at the moment for playing survival football. It's like West Ham at the moment. When you're not getting points, you've got to play survival football, and you've got to do it well. You've got to stop the bleeding, and then you can start improving. West Ham have stopped the bleeding last weekend. Everton stopped it 2 or 3 weeks ago with that run of 4 draws. They're now 6 unbeaten. But I do think they'll lose this game. I think they'll lose it because surely, we said this so many times, right? The creative power of Manchester United, the sheer volume of quality they've got, even when they were walloped last week by Man City, they still scored 3 goals. Anthony's goal may well be the pick of the entire day. It's going to be different and difficult because Everton are going to be so deep and so low and so defensive. So I'd imagine that they might not need 2 defensive midfielders here. It might be Casemiro with Bruno Fernandes and Christian Eriksen. Not the quickest midfield ever, but you don't need to be quick against Everton because they're not going to really try and hit you on the break. I expect the creative midfielders to all be in. I expect there to be 3 runners to pass to. And I expect Manchester United to win a low-scoring, tight game under 1.5 by 1-0. I'm not dismissing the draw market completely at 4-1, but I think a low-scoring game will just be shaded by Manchester United.
All right, and their 2.5 goals is 2.1, for instance. Not bad odds if you expect a low-scoring game in the last game on Sunday, but not the last game in this match day, because we still have Nottingham Forest, Aston Villa, and Steve Cooper is going to be on the bench, probably his last game, especially if they lose. I read some news about Rafa Benitez coming back to the Premier League to coach Nottingham Forest and now hosting Aston Villa, undefeated in the last three. They got a draw against Leeds. Do you think Aston Villa can win this one?
Oh, I don't know. The thing is, Nottingham Forest is that they're a kind of ragtag group of rando players currently, right? That's the issue that Steve Cooper's got. You can't mold a new team together in the time that he's been able to do it. So that's a problem for him. And if he gets sacked and replaced by Rafa Benitez, they may as well start planning for the championship now. But he's got to pick a formation. He's got to pick a team. Enough messing around now with formations, who plays where. Pick your best team, play your best team. I know you signed over 20 players, but you don't have a team of 20 players. So there's no reason for Serge Aurier to get a look in at any point. For example, for Villa, even against 10 men for 45 minutes, they couldn't score a goal. Can't get the best out of Ings, can't get the best out of Watkins, can't get the best out of Buendia. Coutinho doesn't even exist in the Premier League this season. Offensively, Villa are poor. Again, much like Steve Cooper, we've had a few goes now. Steven Gerrard needs to pick his best team and go there and win. They've beaten West Ham at home this year. Forest, that was lucky. They pushed Tottenham very close. We could have got something from that game. Home games are going to be critical for Nottingham Forest, but I think the draw market is the most obvious one here. 3.3. I'd be looking at 0-0 in this game. Two managers under real pressure who will not want to lose. Forest will go all out attack. Villa won't be able to capitalise. Low scoring. And I would say the draw is the most likely outcome.
You haven't convinced me to watch this game on a Monday evening. That's for sure.
No, don't watch it. Watch the news. Isn't Bake Off on a Monday? Watch that instead.
Okay, I'll watch the news. Tom, tell me your safe bet, your favorite bet for this match day.
My safe bet, as it has been for much of this season, because it keeps coming off, is Manchester City to win. But against Southampton, it's like 1-1. So Man City win over 2.5 goals. That's 3-0 or more. I've said more adventurous earlier, but 2.5 is safe.
All right. Or Haaland to score, for instance. This is almost a safe bet right now. And your ACCA?
3-team ACCA this week. It's all away wins, which makes it quite interesting. It's a Leicester win, it's a Tottenham win, and Manchester United win. They're a little bit in the balance, but I put them in earlier, and it came in around 10-1. Now, that seems quite nice to me, 10-1 for those three.
Indeed. Tempting, a bit difficult, but this season you've named already some ACCAs. So let's try again. Tom, thank you. See you next week. Bye-bye.